Welcome back, and today I've got a fun video. We are going to be doing a top 10 countdown of my favorite games on the Nintendo 64. And let me tell you, making this video wasn't easy because there's a lot of good games on the N64, but I pulled a stack of games off of my shelf here, so we're going to talk about all these. I've also got some loose carts. But before we go into my top 10, I do want to say that this list isn't necessarily the 10 best games on the Nintendo 64. It's really my personal favorite top 10 games, games that I had during my childhood, games I spent a lot of hours playing, and games that I still really enjoy today. So, without further ado, let's get started with my top 10, number 10 favorite game on the Nintendo 64, and that is Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. And I think a lot of people might be surprised to see this in my top 10. But I gotta say, as a kid, when I had this game, when I played this game, it checked off a lot of boxes. Now, is it a perfect game? Absolutely not. It does have some problems. But the overall concept is really awesome. You know, you're fighting dinosaurs, you're shooting them with your bow and arrow, you're getting a lot of different cool weapons, pistols, shotguns, assault rifles. Game gets better as you go on, but while it had all of that going for it, it also had a lot of blood. You could even change the color of the blood in the game from red to green, which you didn't see too often on Nintendo, right? They usually didn't go for that edgy stuff, so Turok kept it a bit edgy. The concept, the world was awesome. Again, fighting dinosaurs, but where this game lacked, in my opinion, was on the level design. And if you've played this game, you know it's a bit of a maze. Like, it's easy to get lost. I always found it very tough as a child playing this game. Like, I don't think I ever beat it growing up. And that was mostly because I would just get lost in the game. I found it very hard to navigate around. So that's where I think the game's lacking. But I'll never forget, running through the levels, collecting those yellow triangles, doing all the platforming sections, and some of the jumps and platforming in this game was also pretty complex. But definitely putting this at my number 10 because a lot of time, a lot of memories playing Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. Now, is this the best Turok game on the Nintendo 64? There is a few of them. To be honest, I never had 2 and 3, so I couldn't tell you if those are better. But I do know they got a triple pack out now for the Nintendo Switch, so you can buy Turok 1, 2, and 3. And that's something that's on my list of games to purchase. So definitely love my Turok. Now, coming down to number 9 on my list, and that is this right here, Wave Race. Now, I don't got Wave Race complete in box, but I've still got my old cart. I don't know. I don't think people will be too surprised about this one. It was a popular game, but I also don't think you see it in people's top 10s too much. But I'll never forget picking up Wave Race, riding on the water physics, the different stunts and tricks you could do on your jet ski. I mean, the game at the time looked awesome and it was super fun and it was also super unique. I had never played or seen any kind of racing game like this. And then plus the fact that they put in those tricks you could do, barrel rolls and backflips. It was really awesome. The game also had a few different modes. So I definitely spent a lot of time growing up playing Wave Race. And I gotta say, in capturing footage for this video, I still had a lot of fun playing this. So I was a bit hesitant at first, to really put this in my top 10. I wasn't sure if it should be in there, but after playing the game again and capturing footage, I gotta say, Wave Race, still an awesome game. Water physics looks amazing and was very, revolutionary at the time. So gotta give it up to Wave Race, my number 9 N64 game. Now, continuing on to number 8 on my list. This is a big one, and a lot of people love this game, but a lot of people hate this game or don't like it. And that is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And again, don't have the box for this one, wish I did. But this is a game I won't forget. I'm in the category of loving this game. Is it a perfect game? No. But I didn't have too much trouble, too much pain, let's say, with the time system of this game. And if you've played this, if you haven't played this, the gimmick, quote unquote, of this game was that there was a time system. So everything had to be done basically within 24-hour day. And you had some songs you could play to manipulate time, but a lot of people were put off from the game because of that. But I gave it a chance. I embraced it, learned it, mastered it, and came out of this game absolutely loving it. And the thing you got to really know about this game if you want to play it is that you got to learn how the time system works. You got to figure out how to slow time down, how to speed it up. And once you've got all that figured out, the game becomes a lot more fun to play. But what was also really cool about Majora's Mask was all the masks that you could collect in the game. And as a kid, I spent hours collecting every mask, and eventually I did get every mask. So that should tell you just how much I enjoyed this game, just how much time I spent, how much time I put into it. And it's still a fun game, right? You just got to get past that time system. I think it's a really good game. I would recommend it. And I'm putting it at number 7 on my list because I personally really enjoyed it. Now, coming to number 7, another racing game, a game I spent a lot of time playing, a lot of hours into it, and that is Diddy Kong Racing. And I don't think Diddy Kong Racing gets as much love as it deserves. This is a great game, really fun racing game, and it had a lot of competition on the Nintendo 64, right? The Nintendo 64 actually had a lot of good racing games, I would say, but Diddy Kong Racing was right up there among the best. And what made this game awesome was the fact that you could race in a kart, a hovercraft, or a plane. It had a lot of different modes. So you had the adventure mode, and the adventure mode is what I loved in this. And Mario Kart World could have taken a few notes from Diddy Kong Racing because, the hub world in Diddy Kong Racing was a lot more fun to navigate around than Mario Kart World on the Switch 2, in my opinion. But a lot of classic characters in this game. Of course, you got Diddy Kong, you got Conker, you got Banjo. Just a lot of awesome characters, awesome weapons. This game had boss fights. Really enjoyed, going through the world, collecting the balloons, collecting the secret keys, a lot of unlockables, and just so much fun. Great tracks. And again, another game when I put it in to collect some footage for this video, really took me back and reminded me why I love this game so much. Still holds up really well, still very fun. So number 7, Diddy Kong Racing. All right, number 6, a game I remember picking up very well, remember unboxing it, came with the Rumble pack, and that is Star Fox 64. And I got a pretty beat up copy here, a bunch of pen marks on it, but Star Fox 64 really pushed the envelope on what the Nintendo 64 could do. I remember playing the game and just thinking, this is awesome. The Nintendo 64 is going to be a great console. And it did turn out to be a great console, but Fox is back. You're going through the levels, shooting, barrel rolls, collecting, the gold rings, the silver rings, bombs, fighting bosses. A lot of fun, interesting dialogue between the characters, a lot of quotables in there. But what else was really awesome about Star Fox 64 was the star map, right? And there was different paths you could take through the game. So it had a lot of replayability there, and there were some secret paths that you could go down. But I just enjoyed playing the game, trying to beat it, going all 3 or all of the different routes through the game. And again, just really fun. I found it to be a bit challenging when I was young, especially towards the ending levels. But once you've figured it out, once you've played it enough, it becomes a lot easier. Just a great game. I really have nothing bad to say about Star Fox 64. And we really do need to get another Star Fox, another great Star Fox. So I would love to see a new Star Fox on the Switch too. All right, we're getting back into the box games now. And number 5 is a big one. As far as I can remember, this is the first game I ever played on my Nintendo 64. And that is Mario Kart. Just an absolute classic, one of the best racing games on the 64, and still so fun to play. So, gotta give it up to Mario Kart. Absolutely nothing bad I can say about the game. The tracks were fun, the characters were awesome, the different modes, the battle mode was so much fun, playing with friends. The power ups were great. I guess the only bad thing I could say was that blue shell, that blue shell that you can't dodge. When you know it's coming for you, you know you're in trouble. But besides that, Mario Kart 64, Just a great game and so many great levels in this game. You had Rainbow Road, the Ghost level, the Donkey Kong level, just tons of memorable levels. And you had multiple modes, different CCs if you wanted to bump it up to 150 CCs for a bit of an extra challenge. So great game, really fun multiplayer. And my most memorable track in this game is definitely Toad's Turnpike, I think it's called, where you're racing against the oncoming traffic. That was like one of my oldest Nintendo 64 memories, so always enjoyed Mario Kart 64. Now, coming to number 4 on my list, another big game, start of a new series that's still going on today, and that is Super Smash Bros. And this game changed the game. Super Smash Bros. Came out, did something completely new, tons of awesome characters, and really was the start of a great new series on the Nintendo platform. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this game, playing with friends, playing through all the different levels, doing all the fights, and I really enjoyed unlocking all the characters. That's what I miss about a lot of these fighting games is being able to unlock the characters, by beating the game with certain constraints or doing challenges, that kind of thing. So definitely remember unlocking all the characters in this. And what was cool about this as well was all the awesome items, lightsabers, Pokemon balls, bombs, just tons of awesome items and tons of awesome characters. My favorite character to play as in the game was Fox, but I also like Samus. I also like Link. I mean, the game I felt was pretty balanced, all the characters, and you really couldn't go wrong. So, Super Smash Bros. One of the best on the 64. I mean, if you've got a Nintendo 64, you gotta have this game. It's too good to pass up. So, Super Smash Bros. Coming in at number 4. All right, we're entering the top 3. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, subscribe for more. But let's get into my third favorite game on the 64, and that is none other than 007 GoldenEye. And this game was just like one of the best that the 64 had to offer. A game I can go back and play today, have a ton of fun with. A game that had a lot of replayability. A game that people are trying to do, improve speed runs on today as we're talking. And a game with great multiplayer. So much fun. So I put hours and hours and hours into this game, trying to beat all the missions on the 3 different difficulties, right? The different agent difficulties. And what was so good about this game was that, increasing the difficulty didn't, just make enemies harder and you go through the same levels doing the same missions. It actually added additional goals into each level, right? And you don't see that often these days. Like today, when games have different difficulties, it's just, easy, medium, hard, and the enemies get harder to kill, for example, or you have less ammo. But GoldenEye actually gave you additional content as you increase the difficulty. And you gotta respect them for that. And again, the music in this game was awesome. The different modes, the different multiplayer modes, playing one shot kill, all that kind of stuff. And just so many great iconic levels, pretty true to the movie as well, which is also a great movie. So love GoldenEye. Wish we could get a true, remaster of this game because it's just so iconic and so much fun on this one. So GoldenEye, easily in my top 3. All right, number 2. And it was really hard for me, by the way, to order number 1, 2, and 3. And I struggled with that for a while, but I think I'm pretty happy with the outcome, with the decisions I've made. So number 2 for me is going to, of course, Super Mario 64. To see Mario come to 3D on the Nintendo 64, 64 bits, to see how well they executed that. I mean, this game was just a joy to play. Starting out outside the castle, navigating the castle, looking for secrets, collecting stars, jumping into the paintings. It just did everything right, and it had a lot of new mechanics, and just this is when innovation was at its peak. So gotta give it to Super Mario 64. The music as well was awesome. The fights against Bowser were awesome, and just so many great levels. And I've done a video in the past ranking all the levels in this game. So if you're interested, you can find that on my channel. But this game means a lot, and I spent a lot of time playing this game. I bought the Mario 3D All-Stars game on the Switch so I could play this again, with enhanced graphics and all that. But this is a game I won't forget, a magical game. I think it's a game that really created a lot of highlights in a lot of people's childhoods. And if you played this game growing up, you know what I mean. Like, there's memories with this game you just won't forget. One of the best games of all time, really. So Super Mario 64, number 2 on my list. So glad I had this one growing up. All right, drum roll for number 1. And if you made it this far, you can probably guess what's my number 1 game. But if you can't, that game is, of course, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And this game, was the pinnacle of my childhood gaming on the Nintendo 64. When this came out, I remember putting it in, going into the Deku tree, jumping through the spider web. All the bosses in this game are awesome. And just like Mario 64, the way they were able to transition Zelda from 16-bit into the 64-bit 3D environment world was just masterfully done. A lot of revolutionary stuff in this game, like the lock-on targeting system, tons of great items. I mean, this was a true Zelda game through and through. The dungeons were awesome. And, I struggle a lot in trying to figure out what's my favorite Zelda game of all time. I go back and forth between a couple different games, and maybe I'll make a video about that in the future, but this is up there. Tons of memories with this game. And I think what also made this game so good was the music. The songs in this game, the songs you can play on the ocarina, so catchy. I can go back and listen to this music all the time, and it just never gets old. Riding around Hyrule Field on your horse, Epona, going from child Link to adult Link. Um, the way that Hyrule Castle looked when you're adult Link with those zombies in there, just so much going for this game, so many memorable moments. And again, so glad to have had this, to have played this. And I gotta say, this is a must play, must have for anyone who grew up with the Nintendo 64. You rarely hear people who don't like this game. Of course, there's going to be some people that don't like it, but the vast majority understand how good this game was. It had a huge impact on many of us. One of my biggest wants is a remaster of this game. That's what I'm secretly hoping for with the Zelda 40th anniversary this year. That's the announcement that I want. I want a remaster of this game because this is one of my favorite Zeldas of all time. So fingers crossed, one day we'll get that. But that's my top 10 list. It was really fun going through, putting this list together, collecting all the gameplay footage. Really brought me back to the past, to my childhood. So if you enjoyed this video, again, don't forget to like, subscribe. But I want to know, what is your top 10 N64 games? What games were you surprised that I had in my list? What games do you think I was missing? And again, I know there's a lot of other great N64 games, but a lot of them I didn't have, right? So this was my personal list, but that's all. Hope you enjoyed and have a good day.